It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Great to have you all with us on this Tuesday edition of the show. The Super Bowl hangover is gradually wearing off. A lot to do over the next 60 minutes. Of course, I'll take my beating from Nick Ferguson later in the show, coming up in 20 minutes. Former NFL safety will swing by the program. He'll give us some thoughts on what took place at Super Bowl 59, and we'll talk to him about some of the big offseason stories. Luka Dončić made his debut for the Lakers last night along with LeBron James. It was a glorious one, and juxtapose that with what was going on in Dallas with the Mavericks and the Kings. And, are we going to have some fun on the show today? We will get to that coming up a little later on. Odds and ends, all that good stuff, but we do start things out in the NFL. Sam Yarnell is here. There he is. Oh, look at that. That was almost like a, if you watch a newscast and they say, Jim Brenner with sports, and he looks up, that was you just now. That was nice. I like that.
I try. Yeah, I do. I
it's
try
Sam
very
Yarnell,
hard.
and then you looked up. It was perfect. 125 million or 130 million. I don't know what they said the number was that watched the Super Bowl. I am kind of laughing at this, though, because I thought the numbers would be down on this Super Bowl. Little did I realize they had kind of gamed the system when it came to ratings this year and how they went about, so they're saying, it's another record for the NFL. Well, it's because they're including literally now like every household, where before it was 65% of households that were only included when it came to the Super Bowl. Pump the brakes a little bit on sort of the numbers for this Super Bowl. I just want to say that.
So you and I actually talked about this a year ago on this show, right after the last Super Bowl, that the rating system was due for a change before the next Super Bowl. And I think you even predicted that we would get some wacky numbers from this Super Bowl. And that seems to be exactly what we're getting. This is the new rating system. We know that the rating system gets adjusted every period. I think it's 4 years, maybe it's 5
Something
now.
like that, yeah.
But this new one has all of the streaming services included. So, of course, this was going to be the most watched Super Bowl ever. It was the first one where the ratings included your YouTube TVs, your slings, all around the world.
Tubi, everything, yeah.
Right, exactly. No huge surprise here. Yeah. And I think it is a little bit inflated, Jason. I think like if you actually went around and polled people, I don't think as many people watched the Super Bowl as that ratings leads you to believe.
No, I 100% agree with that. We have reached the offseason, Sam Yarnell. It is officially here. What is the top story that you are looking forward to in this offseason? What's the one that sort of captivates your imagination?
Oh, it is very tough. And off the top of my head, I want to say, where do we go with Patrick Mahomes and how does his legacy sort of evolve going into next season after, cumulatively over the last 2 years, having been outside, let's be conservative here, outside the top 5 in quarterbacks in the NFL. And this is a guy who we were talking about as GOAT status. I think that's interesting. I'm more interested in the coaching carousel because still, even now with the Saints allegedly hiring Kellen Moore, it feels like there's another development coming, whether it's something out of Deion Sanders or something out of Rex Ryan or where these coordinators will go, whether it be Vic Fangio, or if Steve Spagnuolo does anything, if Andy Reid retires. I think that there's a lot of storylines that'll develop throughout this offseason in terms of coaching, Jason. So that's where my eye will turn.
Vic Fangio's not going to get. I don't see him getting this job. I don't think Andy Reid's retiring. He said he wanted to coach another year, unless this thing hit him so hard that suddenly he changes his mind. He's on pace to become the winningest coach in NFL history. I'd be surprised if he were to step down. I mean, they keep saying it's Kellen Moore, but until he's at a podium somewhere, I guess, that's something we'll have to sort of wait and see on. I'll tell you what my big story is coming up in just a moment after a word from our friends over at Edge Boost. I'm all about trying to find ways to take my sports betting game to the next level. taking a little break right now because this weekend was bad. But that's exactly why we've been telling you all about Edge Boost, the financial platform paying you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every deposit. And with the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. Free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're doing already. It's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it'll never be declined for gambling activity. Built-in tools to help you stay responsible, they got that, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. So stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more. Sign up today. That's edgeboost.bet, and make sure to use my promo code at sign up. It only takes 2 to 3 minutes to sign up. It's easy. Use my promo code WRAP, W-R-A-P, and get a free upgrade to your account today. My top story, I know this is going to sound like sort of beating a drum, but it's still Aaron Rodgers for me. Where's Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers is going to be a starting quarterback somewhere in the league next year. Where's it going to be? You know, if you figure there's 17 or 18 teams that are sort of locked in at quarterback, there's another dozen that still are saying, well, what are we going to do at quarterback next year? I mean, my God, it could be as simple as him going to be the quarterback for the Giants next year if the Giants don't get one of the top 2 quarterbacks in this draft. He could wind up ostensibly staying in exactly the same stadium where he played in the NFL last year, only for a different team. How wild would that be? I think that's one of the big stories to watch. Deebo Samuel, and what's going on with that Niners situation? You know, he wants out. The team is sort of looking at, the options for where to move him. I don't think there's going to be any shortage of teams that are interested in his services. The Myles Garrett situation as well. You know, where does Myles Garrett wind up in this offseason? But Aaron Rodgers is always going to be fascinating to me because I still feel like, if you look at the second half of his season numbers and keep in mind that guys coming off Achilles surgery usually aren't very good in their first year, I wonder if Aaron Rodgers feels like he's going to run it back somewhere else now that the Jets have made it clear that they don't want him for 2025.
And I know that there are a lot of people a lot smarter than me in NFL front offices who are going to figure this out somehow. I don't see how it happens. The guy's got $85 million in dead cap over the next 2 years. How are the Jets going to get off of this? And
they've already
said
they are. But I mean, they've already basically made it clear that they are getting off it.
Who's going to take that? They're going to have to cut him, and no one's going to sign him for more than the minimum.
And he might be all right with that if he feels like he has something to prove. He's got all the money in the world.
That's a different conversation.
It
is.
We're coming back. Sports Wrap continues on this Tuesday. Coming up in 10 minutes, Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety, KOA Radio in Denver, friend of the program. Funny, some weeks I have to reach out to Nick like 7 or 8 times to get him on. This week, he was all but willing to run to the camera to come on the show to take his victory lap. He'll join us coming up in 10 minutes, get into some NFL headlines with him, also what he is looking for in this offseason. Obviously, we'll recap the Super Bowl some with him as well. Sam Yarnell, Luka Dončić made his debut for the Los Angeles Lakers last night. Boy, they couldn't have timed it any better. Let's have him, start his first game with us. We'll limit his minutes, his pitch count, so to speak. And he gets to play against the Jazz, which, again, for the Lakers is like clubbing baby seals. It looked like a Globetrotters game. I mean, every time I turned around, it was another alley-oop. I was watching the game while I was bowling, because Monday is league night, of course. And every shot, it was just alley-oop here, running up and down the floor, dunking. They were having a good old time last night. But here's what it sounded like when Luka was introduced to the fans.
At 1-4, number 23, 6'9", 22nd campaign, St. Vincent, St. Mary's High School, an all-star, LeBron James. And the other guard wears number 77, 6'7", 7th campaign, from Slovenia, Luka Dončić.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Love it. Loved it. It was fun to see. And what was most interesting, and there's a reason we started that video where we did. What was most interesting was the fact that LeBron James deferred to Luka Dončić, just maybe for this one night. I don't know if they're going to do it every night, but for one night he was like, I'll let Luka have the spotlight. The public address announcer, the famous Lakers public address announcer, introducing him. By the way, can I just say this too, Sam Yarnell? When I come home every night from whatever it is I'm doing, I want to walk in the door and have that guy introducing me. Now, walking into the living room, Jason Page. I want that guy's voice introducing me every time I walk into the living room. How cool would that be? Just every room you walk into, that guy just introduces you. Luka looked good. There's obviously some rust. I got to say this, though, and I'm not fat shaming here. I'm really not, because I am somebody, and I've talked about it openly. I have battled weight issues my whole life. I'm going through it right now. I've been on this Ozempic journey for 6 weeks. We've talked about it. I'm sympathetic to people who are battling issues with weight. All of that being said, Luka is very doughy. Like when I saw him last night, when I saw him last night, it hit me that he's really very pudgy. He's very pudgy, Sam. And look, again, so is Nikola Jokic, and nobody cares because he's won a world championship and a bunch of MVPs. So I get it. But to look at Luka out there, I mean, dude, come on.
All right. Okay. All right. I got it. Story time.
All right.
So I was in New Orleans last week, obviously leading up to the Super Bowl. Thursday night, I was out with some friends, some old former coworkers. We make our way to this bar, getting a couple of drinks, and I bump into this guy. And he turns around, and I apologize for bumping into him. And he points at me. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
He points at me, and he goes, Luka? And I didn't know whether to take it as a compliment or an insult based on all of the narratives surrounding Luka Dončić at this time. And I think based on this conversation that we're having right now, Jason Page,
now you know.
It was an insult.
That's funny.
But I agree with you. Listen, there was at one point in the game, he pulled, I forget who was guarding him, but he turned around and, because they were on the Jazz, and who knows anyone on the Jazz besides Walker Kessler. He turned around and pulled the Dirk step back, and I just compared it to when I was growing up watching Dirk, a very slender, agile individual, turn around and do that, and comparing it to Luka, and it was like, man, it was like in 1.5 speed. It was like slowed down 50%. It does seem like, compared to his fresh in from Real Madrid self, he may have lost a step or two. But am I worried about it? No, because again, Jason, in that game last night, you saw it. Like, the handle is still there. The agility down around the basket is still there. A couple of and ones last night for Luka over some big Jazz defenders. I know it's the Jazz, I do, but it seems like that Lakers system is going to fit him well. Listen, when we talk about the playoffs, the Lakers are going to have a big problem when we talk about, Jackson Hayes playing the big for them. But right now, I think that could work in the regular season.
Yeah, it definitely can for the regular season. More to add on this in a moment after a word from our friends over at Credit Associates. Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt, in over your head, trying to make monthly payments? Well, there's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates Debt Relief Program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months. And that'll save you thousands of dollars in decades in debt. It's half-uary. Do what you can to relieve that credit card debt. If you have over $10,000 or more in credit card debt, get in touch with Credit Associates, saving you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Find out how much you can save right now. Call 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362, or just scan the QR code below. Yeah, Sam.
So I heard this question in the media this morning, and I wanted to posit it to you. Thinking about the Lakers and the path that I just mentioned that they would have in the postseason, which teams, Jason Page, do you think the Lakers could beat in a series constructed the way they are right now? In the West.
Everybody but the Thunder.
Really?
Yes. I think they can beat everybody but the Thunder with what they currently have. Because I think
You
the
think
West
they
is
could
mediocre.
beat the Warriors?
Oh, God, yes, I think they could beat the Warriors.
And the Nuggets, a team that has historically given them a ton of problems.
Luka makes a huge difference in that series. I think home court will mean something in that series, and very rarely do I say that in the NBA, but I think in this case I do because of the fact that you're playing at the higher altitude, and that could affect somebody like Luka Dončić with his conditioning issues. But I think the Lakers realistically could beat everybody but the Thunder. So then you say, all right, if the Thunder get picked off early,
right,
all of a sudden things get kind of interesting. Nick Ferguson joins us in a couple of minutes. Let's talk some NFL with him. He's actually a big NBA guy, too. Nick Ferguson joins us next on Sports Wrap. How about it on this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap? We have talked some NFL. We have talked some NBA. And now we will talk some more NFL with our friend Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety with the Denver Broncos, and as Sam likes to always remind him, the Buffalo Bills. Every time I say I'm going to talk to Nick Ferguson, and Sam can't be part of the conversation, he says, "Hey, say hello to him. Tell him about the Buffalo Bills." So Sam, now you can just throw it in there yourself. There you go.
That's right.
Although I have to say, of all the helmets and jerseys and all that stuff that I've seen in your background, Nick, I've never seen a Bills helmet. Do you have one?
You want me to get it?
No. Do you actually have a Bills helmet?
Yes. I want you to get
Sam
it.
wants him to get it. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Go. See, look at this. He's gonna go get his Bills helmet.
See, this is the best. This might be the best show of the year, Jason Page. February 11th, and we blew it already. Best show of the year. February 11th, lock it in because Nick Ferguson.
Oh, look at this.
Is it the red one? Oh my God, it's the red one. Look at that. I mean,
if you furnish Sam with one of those, he might.
That is a beautiful football helmet right there.
He might invite you. He might invite you to his wedding. Wow, look at that.
Should I do the show with this on my head?
No, please don't. Please don't. It would be like me putting on the Jason Page Hartford Colonials jersey. I just wouldn't.
Oh my gosh.
I just wouldn't do it. So what'd you make of the Super Bowl? I mean, look, I said I wanted to invite you on to take your victory lap. You picked last week on the show. You picked the Eagles to win the game.
Yep.
So there, come on, get it all out. Let's go.
I told you, man, I don't do that. I don't take victory laps, right? I look at everything like a law case. I just present the facts and let the listeners figure it out for themselves, right? There's nothing here to argue about or go back and forth, right? Now,
God, I regret this already.
Once again, here's what we found out, right? We found out that there was a significant way to stop Patrick Mahomes. I mean, when I was on Radio Row, everyone I ran into, they were all saying Chiefs are going to win this one. It's going to be a high scoring one. And I was like, you guys are missing a couple of things about this particular game. I mean, this is not, Jonathan Gannon running the defense where they had no answer for the short crosses when the Eagles played man coverage. It wasn't that type of game. And since then, they've gotten better up front. Those guys who played in that game in 2022 defensively up front, those guys are a little older now. Right. And obviously there were some things that changed defensively, but when you can get after any team with just four guys, it allows you to do so much. And remember, the whole idea was that you can't blitz Patrick Mahomes. So Vic Fangio said, well, hell, I'm not going to do it. And they still won. And it's the basic principle. It applies to any quarterback, your statuesque quarterback, your mobile quarterbacks. And yes, I'll throw Josh Allen in as well. You want to make those guys run through the teeth of the defense. You don't want them to get outside the pocket. So it was great game plan by Vic Fangio, but more importantly, those guys up front for the Eagles, they were disciplined. They did their jobs. They whipped the behinds of those offensive linemen for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Nick, were you surprised with the lack of adjustments, or were there just no adjustments to be made? You know, NFL games are chess games. You've played on the defensive side of the ball. Team throws something at you, you make adjustments. Was there just no adjustment to be made?
Well, they tried to make adjustments, but with the way the game goes, like, you want to be in somewhat of an offensive rhythm. And when you think about Kansas City offense, they don't really play with Patrick Mahomes under center. It was mostly in the shotgun. And what we should all learn from what we saw on Sunday was that at some point, your quarterback has to play under center, because if they don't, you have no complimentary football. There's no such thing as, well, the defense has to worry about play action. It was none of that. You were in the shotgun the entire time, and because Philly jumped out as quickly as they did, even when it was 10-0, I mean, it changes your game plan. You can't run the ball with Pachenko. You can't run the ball with Perine or Kareem Hunt. No, now you're trying to throw the ball to get back in the game, and you play right in the hands of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Nick, I'm curious, you talk about them only rushing 4, but what did you, as a former defensive back, notice about their 7 in coverage that they were doing so effectively? Was it mixing up looks? Was it showing 3 and dropping 2? What were they doing so well in terms of the Eagles that led to those interceptions and the pick 6?
What they did was something that they said that couldn't be done. 1, rattle Patrick Mahomes. 2, cover Travis Kelce. See, Travis Kelce he's not that fast, right? So I never want I just looked at teams and said, well, why you guys are not trying to do something to where you double him or you kind of bump him on the line of scrimmage? When I look at the game plan on Sunday, it reminded me of the game plan that Todd Bowles had when they played the Kansas City years ago, and I think the score was 31-9. We're going to make him uncomfortable. We're going to make him move off of his spot. More importantly, his safety blanket, his Linus, right? His Linus, which is Travis Kelce, we're going to bump him at the line of scrimmage. And then when he gets to the second level, there's going to be another person. And they were running what we call robber coverage, meaning as though you have 2 safeties looking like cover 2, and then one's going to drop in late. He's going to cut anything breaking inside. So it took the first looks away from Patrick Mahomes. And then there were other receivers who were open down the field, but because of the front 4 was so relentless in their pass rush, he couldn't get to those guys. He saw them, and he saw them open downfield, but he couldn't get to them. So, I mean, we've seen Buffalo do this in the past. We've seen the Bucs do it in the Super Bowl. Hell, we've seen, the Cincinnati Bengals do it to Patrick Mahomes. But usually what happens, the defensive coordinators are not consistent with their play call. They get all nervous. They buy into this hype. Well, you can't play man coverage against him. You can't blitz him. You can't play zone. If that's the case, you might as well not line up any defensive players. At some point, you have to show that you are the bully on the block. And Philly did just that.
I only have about 30 seconds left in this segment. Real quick, speak to Vic Fangio and what this means for him.
This means as though it puts him back on the map in the conversation, maybe next cycle, to be a head coach again. And that's what happens. You win the Super Bowl, you have a dominated defense like Philly had all season long. Then now he's back into that conversation. And really quickly, I said this last night on our show BCT here in KOA, is that, I mean, people made fun of Vic Fangio, but now he has the last laugh based on how his defense performed on Sunday.
Yeah, sure does. Nick Ferguson's going to hang out with us for one more segment. We have glued him to the chair after he grabbed his Buffalo Bills helmet. Look at that. Oh, yeah. It's great. We're coming back. Plowing through on this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap, and joined by our friend Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety, who's got Sam all tickled with his Buffalo Bills helmet that he broke out on the show today. The red Buffalo Bills helmet. It's not nearly as nice as my Giants helmet back there, because it's the Giants. It's not even the old school Giants; it's the new Giants logo. If it was the old one, it'd be pretty sweet, but. It's the new Giants logo.
Do you mean Giants with the line under it?
Yeah, that's the cool one. That's the cool one. By the way, how bad are the Giants kicking themselves right now, Nick Ferguson? I mean, man, I mean, we talk about we're talking about the Luka Dončić stuff and all time trades and where they rank. I mean, this wasn't a trade, but the Giants letting Saquon Barkley walk to a division rival, rushing for 2,000 yards, and then winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, this is bad if you are a Giants fan. I mean, if you love Saquon, you celebrating, but still, it leaves a bitter taste in your mouth that a storied running back that was once in your locker room is gone back to his hometown of Philadelphia.
Who wanted to be there, Nick? Who wanted to be there?
Yes, and I remember, this whole NFL thing, the in-season Hard Knocks or whatever, that whole scene of Joe Shane's son telling him kind of what to do and kind of picking up, Jaden Daniels, and they went the opposite way. And it just seemed as though the son is smarter than the father, right? I mean, we can't make this up. They showed it to us, right? They exposed the Giants for who they are, JP. We cannot forget that.
No, we certainly cannot. Go ahead, Nick. I've got nothing after that. I mean, Sam, go ahead.
Nick, one place where the Sun's opinion is heavily regarded is in that same building across the hall with the New York Jets. Obviously, we saw that. The news has come out they're not planning to have Aaron Rodgers next year. What are you expecting from Aaron Glenn's first year in New York?
Well, for me, it's not a lot based on, you're not having a quarterback. You got to bring someone in. You got to bring in a bridge quarterback. They still have to draft a quarterback. They have to make some changes to the offensive line. So it's going to be a tough haul for them, knowing as though, they still have the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen in their division. So it's going to make things a lot harder for them. But I know one thing, they will be competitive. They will be a well-coached team. But I think that they're making the right decision, allowing, Aaron Rodgers to find another home.
As far as Aaron Rodgers and another home, Raiders? Could the Raiders be a possible landing spot for Aaron Rodgers?
I don't know, man. I was hearing something about Sam Darnold to the Raiders. And because once again, here's what you got to think about. When you acquire Aaron Rodgers, he's a hell of a player. Hell of a player. You acquire everything else that comes along with that. Will he still do the show on ESPN with his guy he does every single week? I don't know. A lot of teams don't like that. They want their quarterbacks to be seen and not heard. And when you think about Aaron Rodgers, he's a very vocal guy. He gives his opinion. We live in a country where it's free for us to do that. But you want your quarterback to play the quarterback position and not act as though he's a de facto GM.
I want to get your thoughts on a couple of other NFL items, and we'll do that in just a moment after a word from our friends at Credit Associates. What a game last night for Nikola Jokic. Did you see that corner three he hit? He had nowhere to go. He just lofted it up there and hit a three. Outstanding performance from Jokic. Nuggets playing pretty good basketball right now. Are they dominating? Well, they're pretty darn close. Is your credit card debt dominating you right now? Well, it's time to break through for some financial freedom. Credit Associates can help you slam down your debt for up to half of what you owe. Do you have more than $10,000 in credit card debt? Well, then that's a move you want to see in your financial game. Don't wait another quarter. Call 1-800-747-5362 today. See how much you can save with Credit Associates. When it's time to make a play, they got your back. To see if you qualify for debt relief, call 1-800-747-5362 or just visit creditassociates.com. or just scan the QR code below. Go ahead, Sam.
Nick, is it a foregone conclusion in your mind that this offseason the Niners are just going to give Brock Purdy the market rate for a quarterback and continue on down this road, getting rid of Deebo Samuel, so on and so forth?
They have to make some hard choices right now. And the whole idea of letting, Deebo Samuel seek a trade is because financially they're in a tough spot. And based on what Brock Purdy has done over his time in San Francisco, I mean, it's best to give that guy his money. If they choose not to, it's going to look really bad for that organization, especially you get a guy who's Mr. Irrelevant, and Mr. Irrelevant helps you make the Super Bowl and make you playoff, eligible. To me, that would be something that if I'm a fan, I'm asking myself, what is this team doing? But Brock Purdy has earned the high purse that he's demanding, and hopefully they give it to him.
I've got 1 minute. First of all, DeAndre Hopkins retiring, hell of a career. A thought on that. But what is the one off-season story you are most interested to watch right now?
Right now, I think the biggest one is Travis Kelce. Will he come back for another year? Did this game leave a bad taste in his mouth? Or will he just kind of take his ball and ride off in the sunset with Taylor Swift? Because he has other outside things that
Sure
football
does.
is opening up to him. So that's one of the things I'll watch to see if that happening. The Hopkins, man, new Hopkins, man, what a great career. I was hoping that maybe the Kansas City Chiefs would pull it off and trying to finally give him an opportunity to win the title, but at least he can round out his career knowing as though he got there.
Yeah, he certainly did. He had a hell of a career, but that drop late in the first half. We talked about it yesterday on the show. I don't know if it got lost in the lights or whatever, but that drop late in the first half on Sunday certainly hurt them, Nick Ferguson. Well, we'll see what happens next season. I think the Eagles are poised for a lot of great things here in the next several years. Always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for coming and hanging out. Thanks for sporting the Bills helmet. Sam is appreciative. We'll catch you down the line. Oh, look at that. See you soon, my friend.
See you soon.
Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes with news concerning Tiger Woods. Some other odds and ends to wrap up the show. Sam Yarnell, something to consider on this Tuesday edition of the show. Mavericks fans striking back in Dallas last night. Mavericks, by the way, lost a heartbreaker to the Kings. Kings are still playing basketball, by the way, even though they've sort of traded a lot of people away and they're hanging around. They're in the mix for the play-in. Kings are still fighting. As Doug Christie tries to sort of win that job permanently. Kings win last night in Dallas against the Mavericks in a wild overtime game. DeMar DeRozan hit a shot. And by the way, you're going to see the highlights here in just a moment of DeRozan. After Klay Thompson hits a three in overtime that should have won the Mavericks the game. If this isn't a travel on DeMar DeRozan, I know we don't call travel in the NBA, but my God. I mean, how many times have I had to watch this play? And every time I've watched it, I'm still sitting there going, how is it not a travel? It wasn't a Euro step. It was 2 steps, then the Euro step. And anyway, he hits the game-winning shot. And Mavericks fans are having their hearts broken in more ways than one, obviously, with Luka Dončić having departed from that organization now. And, I mean, from the coffin out in front of the arena to, fans holding up signs at the game. You had fans getting thrown out of the game last night because of some of the displays of anger towards the organization for what they've done. Can I just say this? There's 2 things I want to say to this, Sam. One, take a breath. Nobody knows how this is going to work out. A lot of people assume it's going to work out one way, and that's Luka goes to the Lakers, wins a bunch of rings, and forevermore, these 2 sides, the Lakers and Mavericks, are inexorably linked because of this deal. And it's always going to be life post-Luka, life pre-Luka, same thing for the Lakers. Can we all just take a deep breath together on this? Because nobody knows how it's going to work out. Look, when the Mavericks traded for Kyrie Irving, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. Yeah, last season. And I was critical of the Mavericks at the time when they traded for him. Because I'm like, this doesn't look good. The trade didn't, it didn't really fit together. They wind up going to the NBA Finals, and it all worked out. I just think Mavericks fans have to calm down. And if you're really this upset, Sam, let me just say this. If you're really this upset, Mavericks fans, I say it all the time. The biggest voice you have is your wallet. The biggest voice you have is choosing not to go to the game. Why go to a game and get yourself thrown out? What? Do you think the new ownership group of the Mavericks and the Adelsons, you think they give a crap? They got your money. They got your parking. They don't care if you stay at the game. The biggest way, Mavericks fans, if you're really that pissed off, don't go, Sam. Just don't go.
So I hear you. I think this is more of a a glaring reflection of how soft the Mavericks ownership has become. This is unacceptable behavior. This is James Dolan-esque behavior. This is exactly what everybody makes fun of James Dolan for. And now the Mavericks are doing it after doing, quite frankly, something more egregious than James Dolan's ever done. And they're mad that their fans are reacting. First of all, Mavericks ownership, let me walk you through this. You should be grateful that you have a group of people that passionate about your team that they get that upset when you throw a grenade into it and blow it up, give away the only superstar that you've had in the last 10 years. Besides Jalen Brunson, who you gave to James Dolan. Moving on from that part, right? I think in terms of the don't go thing, I agree with you in principle, and normally like that would make a lot of sense. This is a little bit of a niche circumstance or an individual circumstance because it happened at the trade deadline, right? So we don't know if these could be season ticket holders who are already $6,000 deep in this season with the Mavericks, buying season tickets to a title contender, a team that just fell short of a finals a season ago. Now you're going to trade away the only good player on the team? I think they have every right to be as upset as they were.
Kyrie's a good player.
And the management needed to be very ready to do the damage control necessary to deal with this sort of fallout. How did you not see this coming?
How did they not see it coming is certain. Well, I don't know. I even wondered, because when you think of Dallas sports fans, all right, fine, they're passionate about the Cowboys. I kind of would wonder. I would wonder out loud how passionate they would be about the Dallas Mavericks. You know, when you compare,
they're going to be more passionate about them when they just won the West a year ago.
I see what you're saying. I think that's fair to point out. But well, look, maybe I underestimate just how passionate they were about him as this sort of once in a generational offensive player. And as I sit here and talk myself through it, all right, I could see why they would be upset and be that passionate about it. But again, to me, even if you spend money on season tickets, sell them. I mean, there's $1 million after. I mean, just sell off the tickets.
That's fair.
Yeah, but at the same time, it is soft by Mavericks ownership.
So soft, unbelievably soft.
I agree with you. It is very soft from Mavericks ownership. To make that sort of move. But it is going to be funny to watch over the next weeks, months, years, because everything between these two organizations now are going to be compared to each other. There's just no getting around it. That's what it's going to be.
It's the NBA's version of the Red Sox and the Yankees.
There's definitely something to be said for that. Stick around. We've got more to do. Odds and Ends wraps up this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap. Just about time to say goodbye on this Tuesday. If you have not done so already, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. We are on all of them, wherever you get your podcasts. Go and subscribe. And on Spotify, you can actually watch the show there. Commercial free, in fact. It's fantastic. All right, without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some Odds and Ends. Odds and Ends presented by our friends over at Edge Boost. It's all about taking sports betting to the next level. How about it? There's credit cards, debit cards, there's stuff for everything. How about a debit card for sports bettors, for casino goers? That's what Edge Boost is. It's the financial platform that pays you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every single deposit. With the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. Free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're doing already. This is a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it'll never be declined for gambling activity. They got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. Stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up today. That is edgeboost.bet. And when you sign up, it only takes a couple of minutes. Use my promo code. You'll see a spot to put in a promo code. Use my promo code WRAP. W-R-A-P. That's WRAP. W-R-A-P when you sign up for your Edge Boost account. And guess what? You'll get a free upgrade to your account. That's edgeboost.bet here on SportsWrap. Bummer, I have to say. The Tiger Woods story. I was so pumped for Tiger to play this week at the Genesis Invitational. Given the fact that we don't see him on the PGA Tour much anymore, and it looks like he's been pretty healthy when he's been playing. Of course, his mother passed away last week at the age of 80, and Tiger was obviously feeling it, decided against playing after he had announced last Friday he was playing in the Genesis at Torrey Pines. He is not going to be playing this week. The statement on the screen. I plan to tee it up this week, but I'm just not ready. I did my best to prepare, knowing it's what my mom would have wanted, but I'm still processing her loss. Thanks to everyone who has reached out. I hope to be at Torrey later in the week and appreciate the continued kindness since my mom's passing. I've never lost a parent, so I just can't relate. And I'm kind of a weirdo. I view death differently than most. And it goes into personal beliefs of what I think, afterlife and all that stuff is. This is obviously a tough one for Tiger, though. It was his last remaining parent, obviously. He was very close to her. She was the rock of that family for so many years. So nothing but the best to Tiger Woods as he gets ready to make a return to the PGA Tour. It just won't be this week, Sam.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we talk about this every time, as much as Jason loves to bet on him, on Tiger, and I hate that about him. Golf is always better when Tiger's around. Obviously, it's like basketball's better when LeBron's around, or, baseball's better when when Derek Jeter was around, right? It's just one of those guys. I don't know, man. It is sad, and you feel for the guy, but, he's also at a point in his career where, we talk about this every time, and I always try to make this point to you. Should he be trying to come back still, or is it time to just, take things light, make your way onto the senior tour, and enjoy life over there?
Yeah, I think as long as he still feels like physically he can, hit it long enough and do the things he wants to do, he's going to continue to try and make the effort to be out there. Remains to be seen when we will see him back on the tour. Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez, is it the end of litigation? Is it the end of their quest in a good way to become majority owners of the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Minnesota Lynx? It appears they're on their way to victory. An arbitrator ruling in their favor against current T-Wolves owner Glenn Taylor. And as of now, they're in the power seat. However, there's one thing that needs to be mentioned here. They need approval from NBA ownership. And Glenn Taylor is still pretty tight with NBA ownership. So NBA owners still have to let them into the club. And that could create a whole nother set of ugly circumstances. I think it needs to be 23 of the owners or something like that need to approve their ownership, for what it's worth.
This story has been ridiculously confusing for the 3 years it's been going on. Glenn Taylor's I'm not going to say that the NBA is better to have Glenn Taylor in it. He's had fans gluing themselves to the floor during playoff games within the last 3 years. But the other side of that is A-Rod, historically great, nice, friendly guy. Yeah. It's like there are two evils here, and I don't know which one to choose, Jason.
It's interesting, Sam, because ultimately this comes down to the NBA owners. And 23 of the 30 NBA owners have to say, we're okay with the idea of, Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez being the owners of this team. So as much as this arbitrator's decision would appear to send this in the direction of Lore and A-Rod, it still remains to be seen.
Yeah, but also this is a story that I feel like started, Jason, 2.5, 3 years ago? This is a process that has been confusing. And, one of my least favorite parts of the NBA is owners changing hands, except for when they're forced out immediately like Donald Sterling was, because it's always this long process where you get a new piece of news every 6 months that seemingly means nothing.
We got to go. Thanks to Nick Ferguson. We'll see you tomorrow.